Hey everybody, Jonas Callis of the Hurt at Work Workers' Compensation Law Firm. Many of you know me as the Workers' Comp guy. First, the obligatory disclosure or disclaimer. The following information is for informational purposes only. It does not constitute legal advice, nor does it create an attorney-client privilege with anyone. So in this video, I'm continuing my discussion about benefits available to injured workers through the Virginia Workers' Compensation Commission. Today I'll be discussing what is arguably the most important wage loss replacement benefit available under the Act, and those are temporary total disability benefits, also called TTD benefits. In Virginia's Workers' Compensation Commission, all employees, and when I say all employees, I mean even undocumented workers who are injured in a workplace accident or who develop an occupational disease related to their work, obviously, are eligible to receive temporary total disability benefits while they're out of work recovering. The temporary total disability benefits are intended to provide the injured worker with a source of income comparable to what he or she was earning prior to the workplace accident or prior to being diagnosed and developing a workplace illness or condition or disease. The temporary total disability benefits are available when injured workers are unable to work, which inability is related to the workplace accident or disease. So that kind of makes sense. It's not really that complicated. Entitlement to temporary total disability benefits is found in the Virginia Code, pursuant to Section 65.2-500. Quote, when the incapacity for work resulting from the injury is total, the employer shall pay or cause to be paid, ... to the injured employee during such total incapacity, a weekly compensation equal to 66 2/3% of his average weekly wages. So pretty straightforward. So when can an injured worker get temporary total disability benefits? Two main occasions, I think. An injured worker can collect TTD benefits when, number one, and this is the most obvious, his or her healthcare provider or providers, if there are multiple, maybe some specialists in there, have all held him out of work, right? If the injured worker is held out of work, all the doctors OOW, no work, et cetera, then he or she would be entitled to TTD benefits. The other scenario is actually when the injured worker has been released to return to work with some sort of activity restrictions. Those activity restrictions don't allow the injured worker to return to the pre-accident work, right? And the injured worker has searched for potential work within those doctor-issued work restrictions, but has been unable to find any work within those restrictions. And when that happens, the injured worker, that's the second scenario where the injured worker would be eligible to receive temporary total disability benefits. So even sometimes when the workers are released to perform modified duty work, they can still collect TTD benefits. Once the injured worker is placed on an award or has some sort of award for temporary total disability benefits, there is no longer any duty to market, right? And if you see my other videos on my website, you can look into that about marketing and job search, okay? But once the worker has been placed on an award, such as an award order or a judicial opinion, there's no duty anymore to search for jobs pursuant to the Commission's guidelines in order to receive those benefits. You're entitled to those benefits. So for how long can an injured worker collect temporary total disability benefits? Temporary total disability benefits do not last forever, hence the name temporary. Pursuant to Virginia Code Section 65.2-518, injured workers in Virginia may collect a combination, temporary total disability benefits, temporary partial disability benefits, and or permanent partial disability benefits for up to 500 weeks. So even though the injured worker could very well suffer injuries that could leave them with like some sort of permanent restrictions and disability, they would only be entitled to those benefits, TTD, TPD, and PPD benefits for up to 500 weeks. So how much can an injured worker receive in TTD benefits? Typically, temporary total disability benefits are calculated by taking the injured worker's gross weekly wages for the 52 weeks, the year leading up to the accident in question, okay? And the average of what that worker earned per week, grossed per week, not earned, grossed per week, is the pre-accident average weekly wage, okay? You take that number and multiply it by 2/3, right? 0.666666, and you get what's called the compensation rate, the comp rate. And that's the rate, that's the TTD rate, okay? That rate will be whatever, that will be the amount, should be the amount of the injured worker's temporary total disability check each week. Obviously, it's usually less than what the injured worker's full wages that he or she was earning prior to the accident, but it's supposed to be comparable. That's the language, comparable. Now, that said, pursuant to 65.2-500 of the Code of Virginia, the minimum weekly TTD rate is not to be less than 25% and not more than 100% of the pre-accident average weekly wage. The commission sets minimum rates and maximum rates that can't be, the whatever the comp rate can't go below and above those certain rates that are designated each year. As of July 1st of each year is when they take effect. Currently, the minimum weekly temporary total disability rate is $275.50, and the maximum temporary total disability rate, weekly rate, is $1,102. Now, if you're following along, and I hope you are, you may be wondering, well, what happens if my weekly pre-accident average weekly wage is below the minimum of $275.50? What if my pre-accident average weekly wage was $250 per week gross, right? And that would be a good question on your part. So good job. And what happens in that situation is when an injured worker, because some people work part-time and things like that, right? So when an injured worker's pre-accident average weekly wage is below the comp rate, right? The minimum comp rate, then what happens is that becomes, whatever that wage is, $250, right? That becomes their comp rate for their temporary total disability check, okay? So I think they're just trying to be fair. I think is where that comes from. That's all I can say about that. Now, this is important, I think, is a ninja tip that I'm going to give to everybody regarding, quite frankly, not just temporary total disability, but all wage loss replacement benefits. And quite frankly, for settlement value of your claim. The injured worker's temporary total disability benefit, the comp rate, is based on the pre-accident average weekly wage, okay? The value of your claim, a lot of times, when the insurance adjusters look at it for settlement, when they try to do a settlement offer, it's the comp rate, right? And which means the pre-accident average weekly wage of the injured worker is considered, okay? It's very important to get that accurate, okay? You want to have the correct pre-accident average weekly wage. So what does that mean? It means that injured workers should make sure that not just their paychecks are included, right? But any other job perks that you may have had, like to the extent you can quantify certain job perks, that also needs to be folded into, like above and beyond whatever your paycheck rate was each week, okay? In addition, injured workers should make sure that the same thing, all wages and perks of any other similar employment that they had at the time. If you had similar employment, say you were working as a housekeeper for La Quinta in, I don't know, some other place, Holiday Inn or Holiday Express, or whatever, I don't know, whatever place. If you were working as a housekeeper at 2 or 3 different places, and doing basically the same jobs, like arguably those could be combined, right, to be your pre-accident average weekly wage. That would increase that, which would increase your comp rate, which would increase the value of your claim, okay? So that's my ninja tip for the day. As important as this benefit is, I think that's all I have about that. Even though it's such an important benefit, it's a close second behind lifetime medical benefits, okay? But it's fairly simple and straightforward, and I think that's all I have to say about it today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it's been beneficial. For more information, check out our website, www.hurtatworkinva.com. That's www.hurtatworkinva.com. Also, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter for beneficial information. And here's the thing, if you have found this and my website and my other videos helpful, chances are other people would find it helpful. So tell your friends, tell your family. They may be going through a similar thing, or they may know someone that you're not even aware of, right? So they could say, hey, dude, check out this website. It's very helpful. It provides a lot of valuable information about how maybe you can maximize the value of your claim and get all the benefits to which you're entitled, right? So tell your friends, tell your family. All this is designed to be helpful to injured workers who aren't attorneys and who aren't workers' compensation specialists like I am. So I always feel like it's better to have the information and not need it than it is to need the information and not have it and not know where to go to get it, okay? That's it for now. Until next time, stay safe and don't get hurt at work.